Welcome to #Share a Story. My name is Zav, and today I would like to share with you the story of Ice Cat, which comes from a wonderful new book by Linda Newbury, which is here. And today I'm not going to read you the whole book, but just part of it, because otherwise it might take too long. Ice Cat is about a boy called Tom who lives with his mum and dad. And next door to Tom lives his friend Gary. And in the part of the story that I'm going to read, there's just been a really heavy snowfall. And Tom and Gary's dad are all out in their front garden in the snow. Gary and Gary's dad are building a snowman, but Tom is building something slightly different. As he added more snow and patted and smoothed and moulded it, the snow figure was taking a shape of its own. He could feel it through his soaking gloves, a firm, growing shape. It would only grow the way it wanted. If he tried to add bits that weren't right, the snow just crumbled and slid off. The shape refused to become a snowman. It felt to Tom as if there was a creature inside the snow pushing its way out. It didn't want to stand upright, but crouched on the ground, a firm, huddled, living shape. At last, he stepped back and looked at it and saw what it was. Gary aimed a snowball. "That's a funny-looking snowman. Can't you get it to stand up? Ours does." The snow spattered on the back of Tom's fleece. "It's not meant to be standing up," he said. "Anyone can make a snowman. Mine's different. Mine's a snow cat." Gary's dad came closer to look. "Yes, I see what you mean. It's very like those animals your dad makes. It's very good, Tom." He scooped up more snow and modelled its ears, a dip at the back of its neck, then added a long sweep for its tail. It crouched there waiting. Gary's dad went in and fetched 2 black buttons for the snowman's eyes, a carrot for the nose, and another sideways carrot to make a smiling mouth. And he tied his own scarf around its neck. Then he took his own bobble hat off to put it on the snowman's head. Gary's mum came out and she went back indoors for her camera and took 2 photographs of it. "Take one of Tom's as well," Gary's dad said, pointing. "He's made a cat, look." "No," said Tom quickly. "It's not finished yet." The snow cat, he could tell, didn't want to be photographed. It wasn't like the smiling Christmas card snowman. Gary and his mum went indoors, and Tom completed his work on the snow cat, modelling the face and the ears, tracing in a nose, eyes, curved mouth and whiskers. Suddenly, it didn't feel right to be touching it anymore. The eyes were only scratches in the snow face, but they seemed to be looking at him. "Tom, come on. Aren't you getting frozen out there?" Mum was at the door, shivering. The lights were on in the house, making the snow look blue and icy. Tom noticed for the first time how very cold it was. "That's a funny snowman," Mum said, peering through the doorstep. "For a minute, I thought it was some wild animal crouching out there." "It's a snow cat," Tom said. "I didn't mean it to be. It just sort of turned into one." It was a relief to go indoors, to stamp the snow off his boots, to take off his fleece and his soaking gloves. The TV was on, but there was no sign of Dad. "He's still not well enough to come down," Mum said, guessing what Tom was thinking as he looked at Dad's empty chair. "Why don't you go up and tell him about your snowman? I mean snow cat. That'll cheer him up. And ask if he wants anything taken up." It wouldn't cheer Tom up, but he went up anyway walking upstairs as slowly as he could. Dad was sitting up in bed reading. He looked thin and tired, but he smiled at Tom and said, "Did you have fun? Mum said you were making a snowman with Gary. I bet it was a good one." "I made it by myself," Tom said, "and it's not a snowman, it's a snow cat." You could hear the way his voice sounded, bad-tempered and sulky. There was something about seeing Dad propped up against the pillows, thin and frail, that made Tom feel moody. Dad shouldn't be like that. Dad hadn't always been ill, and Dad's was supposed to be like Gary's dad. Big and loud and strong, boisterous, dressed in red jackets and bobble hats. Full of energy to make the biggest and best snowman ever. It wasn't fair. "I'd love to see it," said Dad, looking out at the window, "but it's too dark now. First thing in the morning." "It might not be there by morning," Tom said. He knew it would be. All the snow wasn't going to melt away in one night, but he felt like saying it anyway. And Dad might not be well enough to get out of bed. Dad looked as if he might never get out again. The duvet seemed to crush him, and the book he was holding seemed too heavy for his hands. Those hands had made dozens of carved animals. The horses and elephants and squirrels that sprang to life out of soapstone. That night, when Tom was ready for bed, he went to the window and looked out. His feet were cold and he felt a cold draft rush at him from the window, but he wanted to see the ice cat again. It took a few moments for his eyes to adjust to the darkness. When they did, he looked at the place where the ice cat should have been. There was no cat, nothing, just a crumpled heap of snow, just a flattened patch of where it had been crouching. Tom shivered. He looked towards his bookshelf where there were 3 of Dad's carved animals: an elephant, a horse, and a tall, thin bird on stilty legs. In the shadows, even they might look as if they could behave strangely. The elephant's trunk looked poised to lift. The horse was about to rear up and strike out its forelegs, and the stilty bird looked like it might stretch out its wings and fly across his room. The ice cat hadn't crumbled away or melted. The night was too cold for that. It was on the move, leaving the snow crushed and trodden where it had lain like a real cat would. He knew that if he took a torch outside and looked, he'd see claw marks in the snow. Then he saw it, like a shadow had come to life, moving slowly along the fronts of the houses, lifting its paws with a cat's slow delicacy. A long, sleek ice cat with eyes that burned into the snow. It moved out of sight around the corner as if it was circling the row of houses. It was prowling, stalking, searching. Tom didn't know what it was searching for, but he could tell it wanted something. He shivered and scrambled back into bed and pulled the quilt right over his head. But he couldn't shut out the ice cat. He'd made it now, and it was on the move. So I'm going to finish that section of the story there, which will probably leave you really wondering what happens next. And I'm not going to tell you the whole of the rest of the story, but what I can tell you is that this ice cat finds an unexpected way to help Tom and his family. So, I hope you enjoyed the story. Thank you for joining us for #Share a Story from Roundabout Dramatherapy. We understand that times are tough, but if you could make a small donation, we'd be very grateful. Your gift will change the lives of the children and adults who Roundabout supports. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and family. Thank you.